right, so your Zoe encounter is a lot more about snuggling a sloth. Your Flash encounter is a lot more about me teaching you some things about sloths that you likely don't know. And you are welcome to listen to me or not. I am not the teacher and you're the student. You're welcome to interrupt me anytime you would like. Ask questions, make comments, whatever. And did she scurry right up to it?
Not right up to it, but she finally gave up.
So you can see that they can move quicker than you might think they could move. See how the way she's running around her branches in there? So she was almost named Oof because her sound is which means no, hold me, I don't want to be left. So you hear her calling for us, saying, no, come back and hold me some more. It's time for her to take a nap. All right, this is Flash's breakfast. You all are going to feed Flash's breakfast. This is going to last for about 30 minutes, so you don't have to try to stuff every bite into him in the first 5 minutes. But hey, buddy. Hey, we have more people. Hey, come here, buddy. So I'm going to show you one thing with this food first. That we're going to be talking about the difference between two-toed and three-toed sloths. And one thing that you're going to see. Wake up, dude. Wake up, dude. It's like, did you guys ever see the Wiggles?
Yep.
Remember they used to say, wake up, Jeff? You should name a sloth Jeff. Of course, the Wiggles aren't around anymore since. All right, so a two-toed is like a slinky, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But you see the way that he can get his shoulders basically about 180 out from. Turn around, buddy. Oh, he just wants it right now. He can get his shoulders about 180 out from his hips. So this is a two-toed sloth. Alive in the world today, there are two-toed sloths and three-toed sloths. There are differences between them. They all have 3 toes on the back feet. Two-toed have 2 on the front. Three-toed have 3 on the front. A three-toed sloth has more vertebrae in their cervical spine, from their skull to their shoulders, than a two-toed does. So the three-toed turns his head 270 like an owl, like this. The three-toed sloth has 3 vertebrae of a tail. The two-toed has no tail. But they have the same number of vertebrae from end to end. So that means that the two-toed has more from their hips to their shoulders, and that's why he turns his whole body like a slinky, where a two-toed turns its head, a three-toed turns its head like an owl, like this. So their spines are set up differently. A two-toed sloth is somewhat bigger and somewhat quicker than a three-toed sloth. But to describe a two-toed sloth as quicker than anything, you could only be talking about a three-toed sloth in the mammal kingdom, because they are the slowest mammals in the world. And you can go ahead and feed him some food. And so the two-toed and three-toed sloths collectively are the slowest mammals in the world. And it can be a little tricky to get your information when you're reading online about sloths, because a lot of websites use the term sloth just interchangeably, no matter what kind of sloth they're talking about. So they may be giving you facts over here about sloths that are appropriate to a three-toed, not to a two-toed, or they may be giving you facts over here that are appropriate to one particular type of two-toed, but not another particular type. So you do have to take some of that with a grain of salt. The sloths are slow. Sloths are famously slow. But sloths are slow in ways that you do not think about an animal being slow. So they're slow not only in their movement, they're slow in their digestion, their metabolism, their metabolic processes. They are slow in every single way that an animal can be slow. So slow, we all know about their movement. Everybody knows sloths are slow in their movement. Slow in their digestion. The first studies on how slowly a sloth digests its food, they put some 3mm glass beads into some sloth's food and just waited to see how long it took them to come out. That was 61 to 64 days. So that was their starting out theory on how slowly a sloth digests. No one seriously believes that anymore. These days people would just tell you that glass beads don't move through a sloth's digestive tract the way the food does. So the next study on that, they put some durable dyes onto some various food types and waited to see which color came out. And that worked out in the 18 to 30 days range. So the leaves, which are a sloth's primarily diet, are almost all cellulose. Cellulose is hard to digest, not so nutritious. The leaves come through in around 30 days. The fruits and veggies are easier to digest. Those work out to be about 18 days, is the studies that I was reading on. So they digest their food very, very slowly, but very thoroughly. They metabolize the majority of what they eat. So a sloth eats 10% of its body weight every single day. That's sort of a ho-hum number until you think of it in human perspective. I weigh 180. That is me rolling up to Outback and saying, bring me 18 of the 16-ounce porterhouse steaks every day. Obviously, I couldn't eat that. Neither could any of you. So, but he is going to eat 10% of his body weight every day. We do weigh his food, and he eats 10% of his body weight every single day. In the morning, he's getting about 7 ounces of the veggies, a tiny amount of fruit, and the rest of his diet is free choice leaves in his bowls in his room that he can eat when he wants to throughout the day. So, even though they eat tremendous amounts of food, remember they digest super slowly, and they only go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a month. So if he eats 10% of his weight every single day and goes to the bathroom only at the end of 10 days, that means he has eaten 100% of his mass since he last went to the bathroom. He goes solid and liquid at the same time. He doesn't even tinkle in between trips down the tree. So you might suppose that he could lose, 100% of his natural body weight, but he doesn't. He metabolizes about 2/3 of what he eats, but yet, when he eliminates, it is 1/3 of his body mass. And we have weighed sloths before and after their trip to the restroom, and it is literally 1/3 of their mass that they lose. So again, human perspective, I weigh 180. 180 divided by 3 is 60. Let that thought settle in your mind for a second. And yeah, right? So crazy. Praise the Lord, we don't have a sloth digestive system. So when the sloth is in the tops of the trees, he is entirely safe from predators with the exception of eagles. The eagles are the only predator that can get him in the tops of the trees. The reason for that is he weighs far less than a predator large enough to threaten his life weighs. In the tops of the trees, he's entirely safe, and yet he comes all the way down the tree, same side of the tree, every single time to use the bathroom. If you want to see how a sloth uses the bathroom, you could back up on our Facebook, probably a month now, and look for one that the title thing says Sloth Potty Dance, right? Mm-hmm. And that'll show you how this guy comes down and goes to the bathroom. But so it would only make sense, since they're entirely safe in the tops of the trees, that they would just let it rip from up high, right? Why does he care where his poop lands? So at the beginning of studying sloths, they actually thought that sloths were just neat animals and didn't want to make a mess. And that makes no sense whatsoever, that a sloth is going to risk his life coming down to the bathroom just to be neat, right? No animal would do that. So the actual reason and when they do come down the tree, this is the normal cause of death for a sloth. They come down the tree to go to the bathroom and they get caught by a predator. And that's it. So, and yet they come down the same tree, same side of the tree to go to the bathroom on the same pile that they always go on. So as the sloth comes down the tree, the reason for that is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. So sloths need moths and moths need sloths. And I will try to not get tongue twisted while I say sloth-moth, moth, sloth. And but surely I'll mess it up a couple times, so bear with me. I've only said this 800 times before. So the benefit, so it is a symbiotic relationship, meaning beneficial to both sides of the equation. Where parasitic, of course, would mean beneficial to one side, neutral or harmful to the other side. So the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the living environment and food source for the moths. So the moths, the food source for the moths is the moss and algae that are in the sloth's fur. The only reason the moth will leave the sloth in its life is to drink water pooled up in a leaf in the top of the rainforest, or to get off of the sloth into the waste pile to lay their eggs. So when the sloth comes down the tree, the moths jump off the sloth, lay their eggs in the waste pile, and from there it's row, row, row your boat. There are always new sloths, new moths every time he comes down the tree. So the eggs from this time, well, the eggs from last time are larvae this time. Eggs from 2 times ago are moths this time. So there are always moths that are ready to come up onto the sloth every time that he comes down the tree. The benefit to the sloth is that the sloth digests his food by a bacterial process. Now he has the same chewing motion. You can see he's got big sharp teeth. His stomach does more to his food than our stomach does to ours. It's multi-chambered, it's in there a long time. And his esophagus actually comes down, goes all the way around and then in so that he doesn't come back up. And so his stomach is doing more to his food than ours is, but our food reaches the point of digestibility by an enzymatic process. His by a bacterial process. Now we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last for all our lives, unless we take a long course of antibiotics. And if we do that, we need to either take some probiotics or some Greek yogurt to fix our gut health back up. And that's not a problem for us. He lives in the rainforest. There is no GNC, there is no food city in the rainforest. So he has no way to replenish his gut bacteria. So his gut bacteria are replenished by grooming himself, and he licks up a certain amount of the moths and a certain amount of the waste of the moths. The waste of the moths is the source of bacteria that makes the sloth digest its food. And it is a fact that if a sloth gets too cold, it will kill the moths that are on him, the bacteria that's on him, and the bacteria colony that's all the way through him. And 1 month later, the sloth will die of starvation because not for lack of food, but for lack of ability to digest the food.
Wow.
The sloth eats crazy amounts of food, but it is super low quality food. Leaves are almost cellulose. Cellulose is hard to digest. Cellulose is very low in nutritional value. So he eats a tremendous amount of food. He very thoroughly digests and metabolizes the food, but he gets very little energy out of it. Therefore, his metabolic processes are very slow. So, everyone knows a sloth moves slowly. Some other things you may not be aware of is a sloth's energy budget is so low that he cannot maintain his body temperature. So his core body temperature will be whatever the outside air temperature is. So the daytime high in the rainforest is in the mid 80s, the nighttime low in the high 60s, and his core body temperature will make this range of temperatures every single day. Normally that's okay for him, but if he gets too cold, that would be his core body temperature reaching approximately 55 degrees. It'll kill the bacteria on him and through him, and the sloth will die a month later. That is one of the many reasons why it is a horrible idea to buy a wild-caught sloth, is you don't know that he didn't get cold in shipment, and that 1 week health guarantee will do nothing for you a month later. And beyond that, it's just reprehensible to take wild animals and try to make them pets. But we do not have wild animals that are made pets. We have multi-generation captive bred sloths bred by a sloth conservationist who genuinely loves and cares about sloths the same way that we do. So, and you guys are welcome to step up, pet him, take pictures with him, all of this, yeah. Did you run out of food though?
Yeah.
Let me get you a couple more pieces because you're gonna want him to hang down. So you can take your picture on both sides. Hey buddy. Hey, come here. Hey Flash. No, he's good. Hey Flash, come here buddy. Hey. You're getting full, dude. I'm giving the ultimate.
So cool.
Hey Bubba.
Crazy how strong.
Their core strength is just amazing. What are you doing, dude? No way, is it actually a banana thing? Look at the teeth on that guy, right?
Yeah.
There, dude. You want it? after we give him that, like that. So stand right here and hold this right here, and he'll come down right in between you. And you wipe my fingers off before I touch your camera. Oh. Just give him a minute. So anyway, he'll come back around in a minute. So the where did I leave off? Does anybody remember what I said? I know.
Temperatures.
Oh yeah, temperatures.
Yeah. So if he gets too cold, it will kill the bacteria in him and on him.
know what you're saying. I'm trying to call for Tony. I'm looking at him right now. He's out in the mini horse pasture filling up the water bin.
And he's the only one that can't hear you.
Yeah.
So if he gets too cold, it'll kill him. So we already talked about the fact that they can only make milk for like 3 to 6 weeks because they just don't have enough energy to do it for any longer. But the other aspect of being really slow in metabolism and metabolic processes is while they grow really slowly, they live really long. So in the rainforest, they say that a sloth is going to live for around 20 years. But like most prey animals live much, much longer in captivity because there is no predator in captivity. So in captivity, this guy is going to live more like 50 years. So in the wild, maybe 20. In captivity, probably around 50. Smithsonian had one that was 49. There was one in Germany that was 51. There was one there was or is, I'm not sure if it's still around. There was or is one in Germany, the last I knew was 54. And there just aren't that many people that have had sloths for that long. So what their maximum lifespan is, no one really knows. But the two sloth breeders that I'm pretty well familiar with, each have a female sloth that is over 35 and still reproducing. And while no one can tell you for sure yet that it's true of sloths, it is true of most large mammals that females don't reproduce in the last half to third of their life. So that would suggest that those sloths could still live a really long time. So the short answer to how old a sloth can get in captivity is no one can tell you for sure, but at least 50. And so other things about a sloth, physical characteristics, their eyes, we talked about their vision is really terrible, we didn't say why. Their eyes have a structure called rod monochromacy, which means that they have all rod cells, no cone cells. So they see only in grayscale all of the time. They have no color vision at all. And the sloth is a nocturnal animal, so he does see better in the night than he does in the day, but he doesn't see well ever. He is working primarily on his sense of smell and on his sense of hearing. Usually he comes right back down to me as soon as I step to the other side. But usually his encounter is at 10 and 10:30, and we're now easing up on what, 11:30?
Yeah.
And so he's like, hey, it's nappy nap time, y'all.
He's still chewing.
Hey, Bubba. Hey, Bubba. Come here, dude. Want a green bean? He's like, yeah, I'm pretty full. So anyhow, we'll still get you a picture. But so rod monochromacy, grayscale vision, better at night than in the day. But in the day, you saw his eyes. He's got like pinpricks there where his pupils are. So he's basically looking around like this, which is why he turns his head so much when he's trying to look at something. But he is primarily working on sense of smell and hearing. So he knows what I sound like. So when I come down and I open his door and I say, hey, Flash, he usually is coming right down the tree. And while my monotone voice might not be so great for the camera, he likes it. And for better or worse, he knows what I smell like. I always have the same cologne and I always smell the same at the end of the day. So he knows what I sound like and he knows what I smell like. I have been one-on-one with this sloth, I think lacking about 18 or 20 days in the last 3.5 years. I'm with this sloth at least an hour a day, every day, one-on-one. So, and yet we'll get some keyboard warriors on there that feel like they know more about my sloth than me who has spent literally thousands of hours one-on-one with this sloth, but God bless them, they're welcome to their opinion, right? And so anyhow, but Flash is getting towards the end of his wanting to be awake, and he's getting ready to go up and take a nice long nap. But since this is the second and last encounter of the day, you guys are going to get to see the way that he walks up his trees and climbs into his hammock, and you'll see that he moves more fluidly than you might otherwise suppose. So let's see if he wants to go back up, and you guys are welcome to walk into the room with him, and as he walks by you can get your up-close selfies. And so, hey buddy, watch out, I'm opening the door. And some people online think that this is his living space. They think that this poor sloth lives on one branch for all of his life. We're not horrible people like that. So we'll let the online audience also see that, no, we're not awful people to have a sloth living on one branch. He actually has a pretty large room in there. His room is 20-some feet tall and has trees and hammocks and all whatnot in there. So you guys can walk on in there, and he's gonna walk right in and above you, and you can make a video and pull your pictures out of it later, or you can take pictures, whatever you want to do. If you want to walk in front of him, he's going to walk right past you. That's Bakugan. He's a three-banded armadillo. That's Flash's roommate. Stand right here. You can get pictures with him.
Hello. You got a little friend. Oh, where did he go? There he is.
The little guy in there that's Flash's roommate is a Brazilian rainforest animal also. He is a three-banded armadillo. That is not the kind you see dead on the road. That's a Brazilian rainforest animal. So Sloth is done with, Flash is done with his 2 encounters for the day, so he's going to head on up and find him a spot to take a nap. Very likely he'll go into his hammock, but he may go up and sit on a branch. There's no telling. And for the, did you just end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. He had no problem getting up